North Carolina. Today, he's a Cup Series champion.
He's in! Patriots win the Super Bowl! Brady has his fifth! What a comeback! Bases loaded. 2 out. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game! Big Poppy!
Follow to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection.
45, there goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. Auburn's going to win the football game. He ran the missed field goal back.
Is insane. How do you make that catch?
Oh my goodness. This is sick. Put this to music. I don't think he stepped out either. That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Number 39. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Welcome back to All Sports, All Talk. I'm your host, Jace DeBono, and today I'm back with NFL draft expert Noah Westcott. Thank you for joining us again, Noah.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
We are going to have so much to talk about, a ton of stuff to cover, and I can't wait. I think the first place to start, the first overall pick, Bryce Young, I was not surprised, and I think it was a great pick.
It's who they should have taken.
Yeah.
We said it in the previous episode. I think it was a good pick.
Yeah.
Quarterback, not big risk.
Yeah, and I don't think there ever should have been any controversy. I know a lot of people really did like C.J. Stroud, but I was on Bryce Young the whole time. I thought he was the best quarterback in this class.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they nailed it. At pick number 2, though, and pick number 3, this is where stuff got really wild really early. The Texans make the move for C.J. Stroud at 2. I think a lot of people thought they were going to go Will Anderson, and they did that too. They trade up for number 3, and that was where the madness started on day 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's never been done before. You never see a team have the second pick and trade for the third and get those 2 high picks back to back.
I think the best way to describe that is like when you see a can't miss prospect in a Madden draft class and you just finesse the CPU. I'm not saying the Cardinals got finessed because I actually really liked what the Cardinals get in return in that trade, but it was like a Madden trade. I mean, getting up to pick 2 and pick 3 and getting, probably the best defensive player in the class and arguably the best offensive player in the class.
Yeah, it's a win-win for both the Texans and the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I think Monty Ossenfort, the GM, the rookie GM for the Cardinals, he gave Cardinals fans a ton to be excited about because he had a stellar draft, absolutely insane draft. He got a couple of my favorite players in Keitrell Clark and Garrett Williams down the board, the Syracuse corner and the Louisville corner, and then Paris Johnson Jr. was a huge pickup for them, and he acquired so many picks next year, so it was definitely a really, really good day for him. Even B.J. Ojolari in the second round, Michael Wilson, who I was a pretty big fan of, Senior Bowl standout receiver for Stanford. So what are your thoughts on Monty Ossenfort and the Cardinals?
He's got a plan and he's executing it. He's building for the future, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're a Cardinals fan.
Yeah, and I think it was only a matter of time. We're both Patriots fans. We have to talk about it. I think the steal of night 1 is coming to New England to play defensive back for the Patriots for a really, really long time. Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean, Bill's a genius. You trade back for a player that could have gone in the top 10.
Yeah, and I think he could have even gone in the top 5 if you consider where Devin Witherspoon went 5th to the Seahawks. So Christian Gonzalez was definitely a top 5, definitely a top 10 talent at the least. And the Patriots trade back and get him. Yeah. And I know me and you were watching, and we just kept wondering, why is he falling? How are we going to, when we traded back from 14, I think we thought it was over.
Yeah, we were pretty angry. Right?
Yeah, but we get him at 17, and I think that was just the start to an absolute Bill Belichick masterclass on
stellar
draft weekend.
Everything we needed. I mean, we reached on a kicker.
Yeah.
Drafted a punter. I mean, but that's Bill. Special teams.
Yeah, and to be honest, the way the draft went, I am so willing to give Bill Belichick his kicker and his punter because, man, we got some ball players. Day 3 was
monstrous. I mean, we had so many picks. Trades and
the 6th round, I think, is really where Bill Belichick and the Patriots made the living because Kayshon Boutte, who has all the potential in the world, a year ago at this time was definitely a top 10 pick.
Yeah,
you get him in the 6th round, and you can talk about, he's a little bit scary athletically, but, he didn't do good at the combine. He said he had a broken bone in his ankle, which, I'm no doctor, but that would definitely affect you. Affect you athletically. And we know what he can bring. I mean, this is a guy that was, like I said, a top 10 pick a year ago at this time. And he, if he can just keep his head screwed on straight, this is going to be such a good pick. And that just started it. I mean, it only got better from there. I think Demario Douglas, you just think of what the Patriots got with Marcus Jones last year as a corner on offense with his couple of, plays and using him as a gadget receiver. And now you go and get a 5'8" Marcus Jones, but this is an actual receiver.
Yeah.
And, Marcus Jones ran a 4.28. Demario Douglas ran a 4.44, but Demario Douglas plays way faster than a 4.44. And this is a really, really shifty. I mean, he's like a running back with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we need. We needed a playmaker, and hopefully he could be that guy with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. And it wasn't someone that I had much notes on, but because he really didn't play much, but the potential of Amir Speed. I mean, the DB from Michigan State played 4 years at Georgia, and, he is like, I said it right when we drafted him. I'm like, 6'3", 209, runs a 4.33. Who does this remind me of? I'm like, I was Tariq Woolen's biggest fan last year.
Yeah,
Tariq Woolen was
like identical.
He was 6'4", 209, and ran a 4.26. So, Tariq Woolen obviously has way better ball skills because he was a receiver. But, Amir Speed, I mean, the potential just is
outstanding.
Yeah, through the roof potential. I mean, 6'3", 4.33 will play in the NFL. It just will.
Yeah, it's freakish athleticism. It's like, it's not easy to come around, and it's surprising to kind of see Bill draft athletes and people who have potential, because I feel like that's not normal for him.
Yeah, and that's what I really love, because when it comes time for day 3, if you draft athletes, you have a really good chance to draft players that will succeed, because you can develop traits.
For sure.
You can't develop athleticism. You can't develop height. So getting a guy that's 6'3" and runs 4.33 is crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and Bill's good at developing attributes.
Yeah.
With Julian Edelman coming out of as a quarterback and transferred him to wide receiver.
100%. So. I think, Amir Speed is just like, that is just going to be I think he's going to work out really, really well as a gunner this year at 4.33, but I would not be surprised to see him making an impact somewhere at the cornerback position before the end of this season.
He'll probably get some reps. It comes down to what he can do in training camp, I think.
He's going to be really, really fun to watch in the preseason. And then another guy we haven't even talked about yet, their 7th round pick, Isaiah Bolden. And he's also another corner. The Patriots go heavy defense, heavy corners, 3 corners. But they get Isaiah Bolden from Jackson State. And this is Deion Sanders' guy right here. So he has learned from one of the best corners all time. Yeah. He's 6'1". He ran a 4.35. Another insane athlete. Had 2 return touchdowns last year at Jackson State. So a guy that can return and is a corner, I'm not going to make ginormous comparisons here, but the last guy that was a really good corner and really good returner was his coach. So, I'm not saying the Patriots just found their next prime time in the 7th round, but, I really do think this guy has a ton of potential here, and I'm not one to love Patriots draft classes. I don't get this excited often, and I can say that this is not biased. I feel legitimately really, really good about the talent the Patriots just brought in.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge step up from last year. I mean, last year sucked.
Yeah.
And, I mean, drafting athletes and drafting people who can develop is huge nowadays.
Yeah, and I think when it's all said and done, I mean, Bill Belichick, obviously, he had to get in a couple of those kickers and the punter. But, I mean, when you look at the rest of this class, I think you really say, honestly, go get yourself your kicker and your punter.
Yeah,
because, Bill really did his thing in the 6th round, and he did it all around the draft. And the Patriots, special teams isn't just a slouch. You can't just look over special teams.
No, not at all.
And
special teams is so important.
Yeah.
3 sides of the ball, offense, defense, and special teams.
Yeah.
Huge key to the game.
And last year they had Michael Pilardi punting, and he could hardly punt over 20 yards, it felt like, most of the time.
He could have punted a spiral to save his life.
Yeah. And then you had Nick Folk, who was solid, but whenever you were at around 47 yards plus, you had little to no confidence in him to make it. So, you go get a guy in Chad Ryland who plays at Maryland, and, he's got a really big leg. So
yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting.
And the way the kickers fell, Jake Moody ends up going in the top 100 to San Francisco.
That was wild.
Yeah. So, it really ends up not being that terrible of a pick.
No, not at all.
Considering he's honestly the 2nd off the board. So I ranked all the Patriots draft picks. I gave Christian Gonzalez an A+, and I think that was very self-explanatory.
Yeah.
I think, I think everybody at 17 after a trade back,
you don't expect him to.
Yeah, and you can't disagree with an A+. I don't think that's bias at all. I think everybody thought Christian Gonzalez was an insane player.
Yeah, he was a top corner coming out of college.
I think the next pick, Keon White, who we haven't really talked about, I was a little bit upset about it the first night just because he's a 24-year-old edge rusher that needs to develop a lot as a pass rusher. But against the run, and this is kind of where I've warmed up to the idea of Keon White, if he ends up playing inside at D tackle with him and Barmore, because Barmore is an excellent pass rusher and he's not as good against the run. So you get a guy in Keon White. Yeah. And not to mention, Keon White is, he was invited to the draft. He was there night 1. So, obviously people were high on Keon White, and he falls. So,
I mean, you saw the video of him being grumpy and everything.
But that was probably one of the bigger memes of the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
I gave that pick a B, and I think that pick is something as we go that'll get higher just because of his motor, and I really do think if he ends up playing inside a D tackle, him and Barmore are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So,
or if he develops as a pass rusher.
And then my favorite pick of probably the whole draft outside of Amir Speed, Marte Mapu, the Sacramento State. I don't even know what you want to call him.
Safety
linebacker, safety, slot corner.
Derwin James.
Yeah, I mean, from Sacramento State, and he is gonna fly. He didn't test. He had a torn pectoral, but he is a really, really fast, instinctive player. He's versatile. And that was another thing that Bill Belichick really did a lot in this draft. He drafted guys that can move around all over. Yeah, all over. So, Marte Mapu, I think day 1 is going to be a starting linebacker for this team, maybe starting safety. And I think he's going to, honestly, I don't know what his odds are going to be to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, but in Bill Belichick's system, the way they're going to move him around, I have really, really high expectations for the Sacramento State kid.
This could be this could be a whole new defense.
Yeah.
This season, which will be so much fun to watch.
And we've talked about the athleticism. Like, this defense, last year we saw it with the offense. We got Tyquan Thornton and Pierre Strong, who were the fastest players at running back and receiver. This year we go and do it defensively. We have gotten really, really fast all around the ball now, offensively and defensively. So, I've harped on Bill Belichick recently as not really, like, changing and not,
adapting to how the league is played.
Yeah, not adapting.
The Ravens or the 49ers running the ball or doing the RPOs and all that stuff.
Adapting, exactly. He hasn't really adapted well to the new game at all. So, seeing him the last 2 years go and get speed and athletes, like, there's a lot to be happy about. I gave Marte Mapu an A, and I was really close to giving him an A plus. If he tested and he ran a 40-yard dash and it was as fast as I think it could have been, it probably would have been an A plus.
Yeah, for sure.
But considering I don't know exactly how fast he is, it's an A for now. But I think that pick is going to be so huge.
Yeah, huge space in need and. Good pick.
And I think even getting a guy that has the safety experience, can play in the slot, and is a linebacker. I mean, him, when it comes time to guard the Travis Kelce's when it matters, he's going to probably do it better than anyone because he's a safety playing linebacker and he's going to be really, really fast. Yeah. So, this might be the best Travis Kelce stopper in the league once he develops.
For sure.
And that's, insane. I can't wait to see him play. He's going to impress a lot of people come training camp and, preseason. So that'll be a lot of fun. The next picks, this is where I kind of didn't like the draft, and this is why I didn't give the overall class an A+. Jake Andrews in the 4th round, I was not really, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
He was a guy that they drafted as a center who was better as a guard, and I really thought the Patriots should have gone tackle. So it was a funny pick, and I did hear or I saw online Cole Popovich, the heir apparent to Dante Scarnecchia as O-line coach for the Patriots after he retired, is now currently the offensive line coach for Troy, and he had nothing but really, really good stuff to say about Jake Andrews. So I did give that a D, and
it just was a reach.
It was a reach for sure, but obviously Bill Belichick has a lot of trust in Cole Popovich, and obviously, hiring somebody after Dante Scarnecchia, Dante is one of the best coaches, assistant coaches ever. So, and the only reason Cole Popovich isn't with the Patriots right now, he had a little mishap in 2020. I think he didn't get vaccinated. So I think that was part of the reason why the Patriots let him go, which rightfully so. So, he finds a place at Troy, and he has nothing but good stuff to say about Jake Andrews. And he's going to be the backup to David Andrews, I would imagine. So, it's an interesting pick to say the least. Bill has been really, really good at developing offensive linemen.
For sure.
So that, it keeps it back from an A+ just because it was a reach, like you said. But, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And I still think he could be something. And then the next pick, like I said, these 2 picks were really the downside of the whole draft. We trade up with the Jets to take kicker Chad Ryland. And a kicker was already off the board. Jake Moody went at 99 to the Niners. But I did not think the Patriots would ever be in a position to trade up for a kicker in the 4th round. Chad Ryland, nonetheless, I think is going to be a good kicker for us. Bill Belichick has been kind of a special teams guru.
For sure.
Whoever he's brought in has kind of been really good. I mean, he rejuvenated Nick Folk's career. And I'm excited to see somebody that can kick from 50+.
kind of put us in bad spots.
Yeah.
Last year, Nick Folk not being able to kick the ball.
Definitely. And I always think back to that Tampa Bay game when Tom Brady returned. That we definitely would have won if Nick Folk could have
hit a field goal.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting decision to go or to kick the field goal instead of going for it.
Yeah, I still hear that doink.
Yeah, but Nick Folk, it was interesting. He was fun while he lasted, and I'll thank him for his time. But Chad Ryland's got a leg, and like I said, 50+ field goals are back on, and despite all the weapons we've added this offseason, I still think it's going to be an offense that will struggle to move the ball.
Sure.
So 50+ is going to be somewhere we want to live in, and Chad Ryland will hopefully be that guy. The next pick, another one of my favorites, we get offensive guard Sidy Sow.
Yeah. Big guy.
Another stupid good athlete, small school guy, but this was a pick that it had me out of my seat when we picked him. I was really happy about this selection, and I really liked the value. He just a really, really good athlete. Like, this is my NFL comparison for him was actually Cole Strange, because we saw Cole Strange last year. Obviously, really, really similar athletes. Cole Strange, you can't take away the athleticism that Cole Strange has. And the same thing with Sidy Sow. So, we get Cole Strange and 4 rounds later, we all thought last year.
Instead of in the first.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of in the first round, we get him in the 4th in Sidy Sow. And I gave that pick a B+. The second interior offensive lineman off the board, once again, I'm thinking the only thing keeping this pick back from an A or an A- is the fact that I thought we would go offensive tackle.
Yeah, which is probably what we need a little bit more than interior lineman.
And we'll get to another interior O lineman right after this. We went 2 back-to-back interior O linemen. I'm wondering if one of Antonio Mafi and Sidy Sow, I wonder if one of them will be able to bump out the tackle. Neither of them are tackles. They're definitely both NFL guards, but we also have Michael Onwenu, who could be a tackle.
Yeah, I feel like he can move around anywhere.
The only thing with Onwenu that scares me about him being a tackle is the fact that he's due for a contract this year.
Which would be a lot of money.
Yeah, it would be a lot more money to pay him as a franchise tackle than a franchise guard. So hopefully we figure that out. I would love to still keep Onwenu at guard. We did bring in Riley Reif to play tackle. I think he is definitely serviceable.
Yeah.
For now.
I mean,
but Sidy Sow is going to be somebody once again in the preseason. Wicked fun to watch.
Yeah. It's going to come down to who Bill wants to play where, and if he gets in that certain job, I think he'll probably have success. Yeah,
so I'm actually going to pause the grades right here to ask you a question, because we did draft a ton of interior offensive linemen. I know we invested a first-round pick on Cole Strange last year, and nobody was really too impressed with how he played. Do you think there's a position battle here? Is Cole Strange maybe out the door?
He's got to be on thin ice.
Yeah.
I mean, you use a first-round pick. He doesn't. First-round pick on a D2 player is still crazy, but if he's not succeeding, I think anyone could come in and have that position battle for him. I don't think there's no way you don't. Like, if there's a better player, he's going to start over him.
And then the other thing, too, obviously Onwenu's been a really, really good player for us as a 6th-round pick. Is Michael Onwenu, obviously free agent at the end of the year, drafting all these interior offensive linemen? Is Michael Onwenu on the way out the door?
He might be. I think Bill's got a plan for the future. I think if he might be thinking, the organization might be thinking that Onwenu might be out the door, and that they might not have the money or not want to re-sign him. So drafting interior lineman that they could develop this year to kind of replace him if it's necessary is not a bad move.
I think one thing with Michael Onwenu, I know come time to hand out captain badges this year, it'll be interesting to see if he's a captain because he's now a veteran on this team. I think he obviously is one of the better players on this team right now. I think everybody would agree. And captain badges don't mean anything, but I would say if Michael Onwenu gets a captain badge, I would say that would go a little bit more toward seeing, the connection between Bill and Onwenu. And
him probably staying for the future.
Yeah, and I really do think Michael Onwenu is a guy that you want to keep around. You think a 6th round pick, you develop him into what he is now, a should-be all-pro, Pro Bowler type of guard. And, also Michigan. Bill has really, really loved and made a living off of drafting players from Michigan, Alabama, so these big, big schools. So I would be shocked to see him let a Michigan guy go. But this is actually going to, translate me to another question. Josh Uche, also a Michigan guy, free agent at the end of the year, obviously comes on, breaks out as a huge season last year, 15.5 sacks. We did draft Keon White, an edge rusher. I do think he's a D tackle. We have Judon, who's aging. What do you think about Josh Uche?
I think you have. I don't know what Bill's going to do and what the organization's going to do, but I think you have to re-sign him. I don't think you could look at last year, those 15 sacks, and be like, oh, no, we'll just throw him away. I mean, obviously we've seen Bill toss people away that have had really, really good seasons, but I think if you see the production that Uche has, you can't take that without a grain of salt and be like, oh, I'm just not going to re-sign him and let him walk.
Yeah, and Bill has taken a lot of shots in the dark on edge rushers just in, recent memory. I know Chase Winovich, Anthony Jennings, Ronnie Perkins, and up until this year, Josh Uche was looking like he was going to be in that same category as just wasted picks, but Josh Uche has actually been one that's turned out, and, I would think it would be criminal to not keep him around because Matt Judon, I love him. He's the heart and soul of our team, and he's going to be here, but, man, he's getting old. Josh Uche's already passed him up in sacks. Uche is a must, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I think prioritizing him and Onwenu is going to be important for the Patriots.
Yeah, and I'm going to speed through the rest of these draft pick grades here for the Patriots because I think we kind of already talked about most of these guys. I gave Antonio Mafi, the UCLA offensive guard, a B+. I really, really like Mafi, another guy that got me out of my seat. Didn't think we would get him where we did. There was 2 UCLA guards. The Cardinals, I believe, got John Gaines, the other one. And Gaines went before Mafi. I said it when the Cardinals, I believe, were the team that took Gaines. I said it when Gaines got drafted that Mafi was better, and then the Patriots come and get Mafi. Yeah, so it was very, very good pick there. Obviously, Boutte, we already hit on it. That was an A- for me. Really, really huge potential. I mean, the sky's the limit for him in the 6th round. Very hot, low risk, high reward. So then we had Bryce Behringer, the punter from Michigan State. Is what it is. I did give Chad Ryland a C-, and that was because it was the 4th round. So Bryce Behringer got a C. Little one up there. Just because way better value in the 6th round. Yeah. Demario Douglas, the Liberty receiver, he gets an A for me. And I was really, really close to giving this an A+. I saw something on Pro Football Focus on Instagram.
Oh, the drop rate. Or was it the highest graded?
He was the highest graded draft eligible receiver from college per Pro Football Focus. So he was absolutely insane. That was insane to see because it wasn't somebody that was on my radar. I didn't have him with a grade, but I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
And he's produced a lot. So really, really a steal, I would say, from Bill.
Sure.
Did you have something you wanted to say about the drop rate?
No, I saw that same post by PFF.
Gotcha.
I didn't know if it was the grade or the drop rate. It was something like that. So
And then I gave Amir Speed an A+. I think I already hit on this one. This was one of my favorite picks of my favorite pick of the whole draft. I was absolutely in love with Tariq Woolen last year. He was my draft crush. And I said it right when the Patriots drafted Amir Speed. I was like, this is Tariq Woolen minus the hands. And I kept looking, and I saw an article from, I believe it was Evan Lazar, who covers the Patriots and has for the last 5 years. He actually mentioned the comparison in one of his articles. So, this is something that I'm not the only one saying this.
Yeah.
People see the comparisons with Tariq Woolen, and Woolen has panned out. So
yeah, I mean, just a little bit.
Yeah, and obviously 4th round pick comes in and becomes a day one starter for Seattle. I don't think Amir Speed will become a day one starter because he hasn't played enough yet. He needs to be developed. He's raw, but man, it's a steal if it works, and I think it will. The pairing with Bill Belichick is just going to be. Bill will definitely get him to be a stud. And then Isaiah Bolden, I gave a B+. There wasn't much there. It's another really low risk, very high reward. I think Isaiah Bolden's going to be somebody that makes the team as a special teamer. I think he could be a returner. It's hard with Marcus Jones for him to be a returner, but I really, really like what he brings to the table. So,
for sure.
As a 6'1" guy that can run in the 4.3s, that'll play, as they say. So, the overall class was an A for me. They come in at 9th overall. We could talk about the rest. The Colts got an A+ for me. They were my number one.
They had great draft.
Yeah.
I mean, some steals up and down their board.
I think the whole Colts draft was just insane. They were like drafting off of my big board, I felt like, because, Anthony Richardson, they get their franchise QB.
Great pick. I love Richardson.
The sky's the limit for him. And the 2nd round, they picked Julius Brents, which not too many people were talking about Brents, but from an athletic standpoint, I mean, this is a really, really, really talented player, and he fits the Colts. He seems like a Colt player. So,
and then you pair Richardson with Downs, and that's like that's a match made in heaven. I feel,
exactly. Totally a match made in heaven for those two. I mean, Josh Downs can get down the field. He can get open underneath. Like, that's such an insane pick. The way that them getting Josh Downs in the 3rd round, wow. Like, I don't know what else to say. They then come back on day 3, and this is where they just had a draft. They get Adetomiwa Adebawore, one of the most athletic edge rushers in the class, somebody that I personally thought could maybe sneak into the 1st round. Just athletically, I mean, what did he run? Like a 4.3? I think he ran a 4.3.
I think so too. I think he was.
So the Northwestern edge rusher, the Colts the last 2 years have gone athlete after athlete after athlete, and they are just hitting and hitting and hitting.
I mean, Darius Leonard, amazing. Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
He's been really
Jonathan Taylor. So, and even last year, Rodney Thomas, who they got really late, comes in, and he was an immediate starter for them and was actually pretty solid. I know they've, lots of Colts fans are really high on Andrew Ogletree, the tight end that they drafted late last year too, and he didn't get much playing time because he tore his ACL in camp last year, so he missed out the whole season, but he's going to be back. They got Jelani Woods last year, who's a freak.
Yeah, oh my God.
And then, they come back this year, and then they also got Darius Rush, the South Carolina corner, who I thought for sure would have gone day 2. And
day 3.
Yeah, and I think, Darius Rush, another really, really good athlete, I think he's actually better than the Dolphin corner that went to South Carolina and played opposite of Darius Rush, Cam Smith. So, and he goes in round 2. So Darius Rush was a steal. Daniel Scott, the Cal safety, another absolutely insane athlete, tore up the combine, came into the combine, didn't really have much of a projection, and he made himself money there. So
yeah, I think the league is switching to drafting athletes. Like, that's important now.
yeah, and it should be.
Yeah, you see with the Colts, you saw with the Patriots, they're just building athletic teams.
And then Jalen Jones as well, the Texas A&M corner, another really, really good athlete. They got Will Malroy. So Chris Ballard, the GM for the Colts, insane draft. I mean, it's an A+. It was number 1 for me. And I think Eagles fans right now are probably like, where are we? How are we not number 1? You're number 2. I just love too many of the Colts picks. But
I mean, I would say they're interchangeable.
1A, 1B for sure.
I mean, Eagles just drafted the entire Georgia Bulldogs roster. So
the two years in a row.
Yeah.
And they just won back-to-back national championships. So it's definitely a good time to be doing that. I gave the Eagles an A+ as well, coming in at number 2. I think their best move was the DeAndre Swift trade, which we also talked about last time. So
we said that definitely was a possibility. And, I mean, they draft, oh my God.
Jalen Carter? Nolan Smith?
No, the freaking Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, yeah.
And then we talked about Jahmyr Gibbs could fit into that offense and be a replacement for DeAndre Swift, and they trade him the next day. So, I mean, that's...
Yeah, and that was a shock that Jahmyr Gibbs went number 12. Wow. But, I wasn't surprised to see DeAndre Swift traded after that. So... They get an A+. Kelly Ringo was a steal on day 3. The thing, they got Moro Oejamo, who was a steal for them as well on day 3, the Texas interior defensive lineman, who I had personally thought would be a day 2 player.
Yeah.
Just steals all around the board. Sidney Brown, I saw people comparing him to Brian Dawkins. So who they get.
Yeah.
So that was a really, really good draft. They just need to keep all those players on the field. No legal trouble for those guys. And, man, they might be really, really, really good for a while.
Yeah, keep building that team.
Yeah, and one thing that I heard on NFL Network's stream of the draft yesterday, they were talking about, obviously, Hurts' extension. And, when you extend a quarterback and give them all that money, this is where this is what you get paid to do, because you need to find really good players on rookie small contracts. I don't know if all of these guys are going to make it to second contracts with the Eagles, because it's going to get way too expensive.
With the humongous Jalen Hurts contract.
Yeah.
So,
but
building young players on cheap contracts is big.
Yeah, and their window is definitely right now.
Yeah, they need it to be right now.
I had the Browns with an A+ at 3. I think the Browns draft was actually really, really highly slept on. I need to relook at their draft. I know their first pick didn't come till the 3rd round. They got Cedric Tillman with their first round pick, or their not first round pick, but their first pick, right after Jalen Hyatt. So the back-to-back Tennessee receivers, and I actually think the Browns get the better of the two in Tillman. I really, really like Cedric Tillman. And they followed that up in the 3rd round with Siaki Ika, the Baylor interior defensive lineman, who's a massive human.
Yeah. I mean, for not having a first-round pick or a second-round pick, I mean, they did a great job, I think.
I really liked Ika. Then they got DeJuan Jones, who I did not know. I thought he could get first round.
Oh, he's huge. He's insane.
Yeah.
He's got, I think I saw he had the same wingspan as, Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Which is absurd. As an offensive lineman.
I think with DeJuan Jones, I think people are just worried about, he's such a big dude that he could be very fragile.
Yeah.
And,
Immobile.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I mean, the Browns capitalized, and you can't deny the steal they got there. They got Isaiah McGuire, who was a player I really liked. I came on here the other day and talked about Broderick Jones and how I didn't like him, and the reason I didn't like Broderick Jones was because the one game I watched of Broderick Jones against Missouri, Isaiah McGuire gave this dude absolute hell.
Yeah,
He made Broderick Jones' life miserable, and now they're going to be in the same division playing each other twice a year.
McGuire's a stud.
Yeah, and he was a steal. They got Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the UCLA quarterback, athlete.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is athlete. And I know they don't need a quarterback because they just invested a lot into their quarterback currently. But man, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to be fun to watch if they can figure out some way to get him in.
I mean, Deshaun Watson isn't 100% going to be there forever. I mean, Robinson
definitely
come in and take over that offense. Similar play styles.
After that, the notable pick that I wanted to talk about, Luke Whippler, another Ohio State offensive lineman. I had him as a top 100 player on my big board, and I had him. I don't remember if I had him. I don't think I had him as a top 5 interior offensive lineman, but he was like 6 or 7. I know he didn't miss out by much. And he falls to the 6th round. So the Browns just capitalizing on everybody. Best player available, almost every pick really for them.
For sure.
And that's really just great drafting. Another couple of notable ones that I wanted to talk about. The Cardinals, I gave an A+. I already talked about how good Monty Ossenfort did with that team. Tons of picks next year. They got their tackle for Kyler Murray, keep him safe. B.J. Ojolari, Garrett Williams, Michael Wilson, got a quarterback in Clayton Tune. Owen Papo, who athlete again. He ran in the 4.3s, and he can move for a linebacker. So he's going to be a ton of fun in that Jonathan Gannon defense. He is definitely going to be not like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but he's going to play similar to him in that role, kind of. I feel like that Gardner played with the Eagles. So he could also be like T.J. Edwards, a faster T.J. Edwards.
Yeah, maybe like Isaiah Simmons.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Isaiah Simmons, they got some linebackers that can move and cover elite. Sure. So, and then Keitrell Clark, I mentioned, was a top 100 player for me. Got him in the 6th round. And then Dante Stills was another one that I really, really liked. The Titans, I want to talk about the Titans because they had a really, really interesting draft. Pull it up.
I mean, Levis falling to the 2nd round was shocker.
Yeah, I was surprised. They nailed it though, in my opinion. And then, so it's a really, really low risk, high reward getting Levis in the 2nd round, I feel like, because I think at that point you can see the ceiling with Levis.
Yeah.
Despite the floor that he obviously has, his ceiling is,
and it's not a bad pick for the 2nd round.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is where Will Levis should have gone. And then I want to go down the board a little bit here because I think last year the Seahawks did this. They went tackle in the 1st round with Charles Cross, and then they got Abraham Lucas in the 4th round. Well, they got their 2 franchise tackles last year, most likely the Seahawks did. The Titans did this year because Jalen Duncan in the 6th round, I think this might be the biggest steal in the whole draft. And I'm willing to say that, and I'm willing to defend Jalen Duncan. Jalen Duncan, at one point this year, was a top 10 pick. I thought he was going to be, and I'm not even talking like Kayshon Boutte was a year ago. I'm talking 4 months ago, I had Jalen Duncan as a top 10 pick. So he gets picked round 6, pick 9, nice. Huge human being, and him and Peter Skoronski, you just got your 2 franchise tackles if that's the way you want to go with Skoronski. Way to replace Taylor Lewan for them.
I mean, you got 2 people who can play there.
So, and Tajay Spears, another really, really interesting player. Tulane running back. I actually really, really like Tajay Spears. So I'm interested to see how that pans out. And then Josh Wiley, the tight end from Cincinnati, round 5, definitely another low risk, high reward player. Josh Wiley is really, really solid. So shout out Tennessee. I really, really like their draft. Let's see. I'm going to find another one here.
Falcons.
Yeah, definitely might need to talk about the Falcons at one point. I think I want to talk about the Giants draft, because the Giants draft I have mixed emotions about the Giants draft.
Yeah,
So I like Deonte Banks. I think they reached, and I'm willing to come on here and say that Jacorian Bennett is the better of the two Maryland corners.
Yeah, for sure.
But and Bennett goes round 4. It's hard to look over Banks because he is another really, really good athlete. Just I don't like Deonte Banks a ton. They got John Michael Schmitz in round 2. Another guy that I was kind of lower on as an interior offensive lineman. I really, really like Joe Tippmann. He was my number 1 center in this class. And Tippmann ends up going a little bit before Schmitz. But I do think Osiris Torrance was on the board for this Giants pick. I could be mistaken. But if Osiris Torrance was on the board and they passed him up for Schmitz, either way, whether Torrance was gone or not, it doesn't really make me like the Schmitz pick a lot more. I did kind of give them a favorable grade at a B because
they drafted good players.
Yeah, it's just
early.
Yeah, and Jalen Hyatt was mostly the reason why I think this grade gets a little bit carried. I'm willing to come on here and say I do not like Jalen Hyatt one bit. I think he is just fast and played in a really, really good scheme. And I don't like Jalen Hyatt at all. And I'm not, Giants hater because I definitely am not. I named my dog after Saquon Barkley. So I'm willing to, say that Jalen Hyatt will not pan out. But I still have to give it a good grade because I do think where they got him, it's another low risk, high reward, and he's a really, really good athlete. Then they come back, and day 3 is another, these couple of picks right here that I'm going to go through is really where this draft gets, good. Eric Gray, the running back from Oklahoma, one of my favorite day 3 running backs. The last Oklahoma running back, Ramondre Stevenson, I really, really liked as well, and he comes to New England, so
he's been a stud.
Eric Gray's a different player than Stevenson. Stevenson's going to bowl you over, and, but Eric Gray can be a 3-down back. He can catch the ball. He's quick. He's shifty. Him and Saquon Barkley, if Saquon does end up staying, is going to be a really, really good 1-2. And then Trey Hawkins III was one of my steals. Insane athlete. This is like a perfect athlete. And then the corner from Old Dominion didn't have much on him outside of the fact that he's a really, really good athlete. And then I did want to talk about it because they signed UDFA free agent Bryce Ford Wheaton. And Bryce Ford Wheaton had a 10 rare athletic score, which was 2 of every receiver draft eligible that participated in the combine or the pro day since 1987. The only one higher was Calvin Johnson, and they get him as a UDFA. I don't know why he was undrafted. I had him as a top 100 player, so there you go, Giants. Obviously, that doesn't factor into the B, but I think he's going to be better than Hyatt, and I think he'll definitely make their roster.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
Yeah. And then I think the last one I really want to talk about here was just Atlanta, because Atlanta, I had expectations for Atlanta after Bijan Robinson.
And then they kind of sucked.
They didn't have many picks as it was, but Matthew Bergeron, they traded up for, and that was where it all started. I didn't mind Bergeron, but why so high?
Yeah, for sure.
Matthew Bergeron, for me, I had below Jalen Duncan, who goes in the 6th round. So, And I think a lot of people had Duncan higher than Bergeron. I did not like Bergeron at all. Zach Harrison, who, he has a ceiling because he's kind of already at his cap. He's not really a great athlete, although he kind of does have a little bit of potential in the third round. Just, pick.
Yeah.
Clark Phillips the third, another just, he's small, but he's going to get the ball, I guess. He's a playmaker as a corner. He can definitely intercept the ball, but it's just not a good athlete. Yeah. DeMarco Helms in the 7th round, another just, not really a great athlete. I don't know.
It just wasn't a good draft.
It was a D- for me, and to be honest, looking at it now, I kind of wish I gave it an F, even though they were the last team. There's nothing there.
No.
I thought the Falcons were a team that if they came in and nailed the draft, they could be a playoff team in that weak division. So they stunk it up. They get the D-. Another team I wanted to talk about was the Chargers, because holy TCU for the Chargers.
Dug in?
Yeah, they dug in Darius Davis, Quentin Johnston. It's just like when Justin Herbert comes out, it's going to be like the TCU offense all over again in LA. And it was actually pretty funny because both of the quarterbacks from the national championship are now going to be playing their home games in SoFi Stadium, where the national championship was. So hopefully, if it ever comes, we get to see the Stetson Bennett versus Max Duggan 2.0
rematch.
Maybe Max Duggan won't lose by 100.
Yeah.
But Quentin Johnston was a player I really liked, but he has obvious concerns.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Tui Piloto, they get in the 2nd round. I thought was a reach. Not really much there athletically. But this is the only pick that I liked. And this is why they don't get an F. Because they get Dion Henley from Washington State, the linebacker. This was a guy that was a receiver that moved to safety and then ends up getting drafted as a linebacker. Could flat out fly.
Yeah, he can move.
So Dion Henley is going to be a guy that you can plug in and play day one. And he's going to replace Drew Tranquill. He's probably going to get 150 tackles.
Yeah, there definitely was a linebacker need there.
Yeah, so and then they got Darius Davis. Kind of seems like the Liberty receiver that the Patriots drafted, and Douglas just took him in round 4 instead of round 6. So, the value is value. I don't know, really. Not much there. Jordan McFadden, I don't know. Scott Matlock. And then Max Duggan. I didn't really think Max Duggan was worth a draft pick. Outside of that, I don't really have any draft grades I want to talk about. I think, there was a lot of just really, really big steals on day 3.
Yeah.
And then there was a lot of reaches. Not on day 3, but the reaches started night 1. And the Lions reached a really, really bad reach with Jack Campbell.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it. The whole Lions draft class for me was honestly a lot of reaches, because outside of Brian Branch, who they get in the 2nd round, which was a steal, they had to come up and trade. Jahmyr Gibbs, reach. Jack Campbell was a reach. Sam Laporta, I actually had in my notes, I put Sam Laporta for biggest reaches. I had Sam Laporta, and I wrote over Mayer, yeesh. Michael Mayer was on the board, and people say he's the best tight end we maybe ever seen out of college, outside of Pitts.
The Bills passed them.
Yeah,
they took
Kincaid, which I wasn't even mad about Kincaid. I could understand that,
Kincaid's really good.
And I think he fits what the Bills want to do more, because he's almost going to be a slot for them, and Mayer would not have been, because they still have Knox, and they just extended him big. But Sam Laporta, if you get Michael Mayer in that offense, I mean, you're talking like legit Lions or Super Bowl contenders. Yeah. And I just don't know if Sam Laporta really moves the needle for me. Did Dan Campbell and did Brad Holmes get paid money to take only Iowa players? Like what? They got Hendon Hooker, which was good value, but he doesn't help them win right now. And I would have liked to seen them make a win now move in round 3 still, because they are right in their window.
Yeah.
And then, you would say, well, they do have 2 third-round picks. Broderick Martin, like what? I didn't have a grade on Broderick Martin, and they take him in the 3rd. It just didn't make sense. So, and then they do end up with Anton Green in round 7, who is actually a really, really interesting pick. The North Carolina receiver. I like both North Carolina receivers. I didn't think Green would be here. So Green and Brian Branch really bring up this grade for them. I did give them a C, which was number 27. But, man, reaches
all over the board for them.
The Texans had an interesting draft because they took a guy in Juice Scruggs out of Penn State in the 2nd round, and I just woof.
No,
I don't know where that came from at all.
You're a Penn State fan. So
yeah, exactly. I didn't see the value there.
Sean Clifford going to the Packers.
Yeah, but it was round 5, but I was really, really surprised to see Sean Clifford getting drafted. Fun fact, I saw something that Sean Clifford is actually 3 months older than Jordan Love already. Sean Clifford sucks. And there's nothing more to it. If Sean Clifford is the Packers' backup come day 1, man, Packers fans, you better hope Jordan Love never gets hurt.
Yeah.
Because
horrible.
And the only other quarterback on their roster right now is Patriots legend Danny Etling. So, the guy that beat out Joe Burrow for the starting job at LSU when he transferred there. Danny Etling versus Sean Clifford will certainly be the battle of two quarterbacks that should not even be a backup and should no way in hell have a job. I honestly think that I'm probably better than Sean Clifford.
Probably.
I don't know. That's a joke, but Sean Clifford sucks. I had Chad Ryland as a reach. I had Jake Moody as a reach. Yeah, the two kickers. Kicker in the top 100 is just, wow. Yeah. What? I didn't see that coming.
I mean, Moody's good, but he's not that good.
Especially for the 49ers, because they really, where the way the board fell, they could have gotten some good guys at in pick 99. And then another pick I wanted to talk about, Zach Charbonnet for the Seahawks. They take him round 2.
Yeah, that's...
2 years in a row, they take a running back round 2. And I know Kenny Walker had a lot of injury, bad injury at the end of last year. Yeah, there's no way we're being concerned about injuries already for Kenny Walker, right?
Walker screwed me for fantasy, so I'm a little concerned.
But are we really?
No,
are we?
I don't think you can. It's 1 year.
Yeah.
And he missed
I don't even. I think he only missed 2 games.
Yeah.
Right? So
he's questionable for a bunch of them.
Yeah. But,
man,
I know I don't know what this means. I know Seattle loves their running back by committee, and they actually ended up taking another running back day 3 yesterday, and Kenny McIntosh near the end of the 7th round, who I actually really, really liked. But 2 running backs makes me really scared that Kenny Walker might have a bad injury, and I would hate this for Seattle because this would now be 2 generational talents at running back in a row that would have, bad injuries. Yeah. Chris Carson was forced to retire because of an injury, and he was on pace to be, a really, really good, running back. He already was for them. So just unfortunate stuff. I'm hoping for the best for Kenny Walker.
Yeah. Unless the Seahawks were drafting running backs to draft running backs. But.
Yeah, and I wouldn't understand that if that's the reason, if that's what they're doing. But they do them, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything else? I talked about Matt Bergeron, Jack Campbell, Broderick Martin, Sam Laporta. Byron Young for the Raiders was a really, really big reach for me. When they first announced Byron Young, I was actually like, wow, they just did that, because I totally thought it was Byron Young, the edge rusher for Tennessee, who I actually really, really liked. The edge rusher for Tennessee, Byron Young, not the defensive tackle for Bama. I did not think Byron Young was a guy that should go day 2. I thought definitely round 5, round 6.
Yeah.
But if it was the other Byron Young who the Rams ended up getting, I mean, talk about a sick athlete. Tore up the combine, so that was a shock to me. It is what it is. This was such a great draft.
Yeah, it was crazy. Joey Porter,
yeah,
he went to the Steelers, but we thought he was going in the first and not in the second.
Yeah,
Steelers had a good draft.
The Steelers were the toughest team for me to grade, because they drafted a bunch of guys that everybody liked, and I didn't like at all. I didn't like Joey Porter Jr.
No, I didn't either.
I didn't like Broderick Jones because of that Isaiah McGuire game. I didn't really like Darnell Washington because I didn't think, he was that good as just a receiving tight end. And obviously Brock Bowers is, beat him out there as the starter for that tight end.
Is so good.
Yeah. So, getting him in the 3rd round, though, was certainly excellent value. One of the best picks from them, though, actually came in round 7. Corey Trice, the Purdue corner. Wow, why was he available?
Yeah, he fell so far.
The Steelers did their thing when it came to getting the best player available every single time, according to, multiple, people that have boards and do this for a living, like Daniel Jeremiah. They went best player available off of his board almost every single time. So, it was a great draft for Pittsburgh, and I hope everybody pans out for them. I didn't like their picks as much outside of Corey Trice, but, it is what it is. I think they've got a lot of stuff to be happy about, though, if you're Pittsburgh fans.
Yeah. I think, obviously, we don't like the Steelers, but...
Yeah. No, definitely don't like the Steelers, but as trying to be as unbiased as we can be, I gave the Steelers a plus at 7. So, they were higher than the Patriots. They still get an A plus, even though I didn't really, really like any of their players. But it is what it is. I think, I hope for Steelers fans that everybody ends up being really good. Obviously, I'm really happy that the Steelers actually worked out that deal with the Patriots to get Broderick Jones and give us the extra 4th, because I think the Jets would have taken Broderick Jones, and I'd much rather see him develop with the Pittsburgh Steelers than having to play him 2 times a year with the Jets if he ends up being good. I think other than that, it's going to be a wrap. The Patriots killed it. I am super excited for this this offseason to continue. I can't wait for camp. And
camp's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch everyone.
The preseason games, too, are going to be really, really fun. So with that, thank you for watching. Noah, thank you for joining us again. We put in a lot of work. Yeah. This was a lot of fun. I'm super stoked with the Patriots draft. And with that is